welcome to the webinar. I'm Tony and I'm the Marketing Manager at Wired Plus. Now through this webinar, I want to share with you the secrets that we've learned from over 20 years of experience of email marketing and the implementation of e-commerce solutions. The tips and tricks that I'm sharing will work no matter what e-commerce solution you use or which industry you're working in. So here's the agenda that I've set out for the webinar. I don't believe in working to a script, so I'm happy to take the content wherever we get the most questions. Now this agenda is just to give us some kind of track to run to. So 3 secrets to maximising e-commerce sales with email marketing. I have a free offer for anyone who stays with me until the end of the webinar. So if by some turn of events I'm not answering your e-commerce problems and queries, break me off and ask the questions. I only have one rule at the webinars that I host. If you have a question to ask it immediately. If not, you'll soon forget about it, we'll move on, and then you'll never get your answer. So for the next hour, I'll be explaining how email marketing works alongside e-commerce and how you can use it to drive increased sales and return on investment from your efforts. Now we do have a lot to cover, so get your pads and pens ready, put your phones to one side, tell your boss that you're in a meeting, and clear your mind of any distractions. It's only just an hour. So let's go. So who Wired Plus and why should you give me your undivided attention for the next hour? Well, Wired Plus, we're a full service email marketing agency specialising in email marketing and marketing automation. Our clients range from small businesses to large PLCs and everything in between. We offer managed services through an agency style setup for clients who want to outsource their email marketing strategies, as well as offering support and training to clients who would prefer to create email templates and campaigns before sending them themselves. So whether you're looking for a bespoke template, DIY email sends, or a full campaign strategy with implementation, we can support you to success. Now, as I've already mentioned, I'm Tony and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Wired Plus. My own experience spans over 20 years, during which time I've been involved with digital marketing projects ranging from small, highly targeted, postcode-specific campaigns to full national and multinational integrated marketing strategies. I've worked across a number of B2B and B2C sectors and love sharing what I've learned through that time. As you can see, I was also voted as a top 5 influencer by the Google Squared program. So that's what you need to know about us. We'll now move on to the webinar. So the 3 secrets. So number 1, how to get more prospects. Number 2, how to maximise conversions. And number 3, how to save time and effort whilst doing it all. Because as busy businesses, we don't have time to be able to do everything. We're constantly firefighting, especially when it comes to all the different marketing channels that we're using. So secret number 1, how to get more prospects. Well, this all sort of boils down to the marketing funnel, as you can see on screen there, the 5 stages. We've got the awareness stage, we've got the consideration stage, we've got conversion, retention and advocacy. Now most marketers tend to work in the first 3 boxes, and even then the conversion stage is where they'll pass over to sales and let sales take responsibility for that. There are 5 stages in this funnel for a very, very good reason though. So taking each one in turn and showing you how email marketing works through them. First of all, awareness itself. Now, awareness isn't just necessarily people becoming aware of you and your business or your products and services. It's also a case of maybe you having to make them aware that they have problems or issues that might be solved by your products and services. So it might not be a case of making the product or service aware, it might be making them problem aware as well. When it comes to email marketing, the first thing you have to do is get that email address. You don't need any other information after that. You can always collect that later on. But the awareness stage of any customer journey, that's the first protocol. You've got to get the email address out of people, whether that is collecting it at a previous purchase, which you would naturally do in your e-commerce solutions, or it may be using such things as lead magnets or lead capture forms to try and get that information from them to start with. As soon as you've got that email address, then you can start looking at building a bigger data sets on each and every contact that you've got, maybe considering behavioural marketing, real-time marketing, marketing automation, segmentation, personalisation, dynamic content, all things that we'll cover as we go through these these 3 secrets and the later stages of the funnel as well. So the first point in awareness is they need to be problem aware, they need to be potentially solution aware, they also need to be aware of your brand, and to do that with email you need to collect the email address. To move them into the consideration mindset, at one time, and the funnels still depict it, it does look that there's going to be more people aware of you potentially than the ones that are considering you. It may have an element of truth, but you'll probably find it yourself as you're researching the purchase of new products, even if it's just a small priced item like a packet of pens now. You'll probably start looking at various different sources and looking further out rather than bringing it back into maybe 3 or 4 chosen favourites. So the consideration stage does actually tend to give people more choice now than it may have done going back a few years. And that's purely down to the fact that we have social media accounts, we can ask friends and family for referrals, we can search on our favourite search engine and find answers to our questions now. So consideration mindset can actually blow the options out a little bit more than it necessarily did historically. When it comes to the smaller businesses or the businesses in very competitive markets that maybe have 1 or 2 really big brands, it does mean that you can actually get in front of people because they don't always just go with the first brand that comes to mind. They're looking around, the consumers, they're looking for different options. They might be looking for cheaper product, they might be looking for better product, they might not want to use the bigger chains, the bigger companies out there. So when it comes to email marketing, as long as you've got the email address at that awareness stage, you can then start putting content in front of people at the right time in the right format through an email format, and then that's likely to trigger them on to at least consider you. Once that work's done, then you can try and get them to move to the conversion stage. Now, most companies have the luxury, in some cases, of having marketing and sales functions separately. But if you're not in that situation, it doesn't mean any difference at all from process when it comes to email marketing and moving people through this funnel. All it means is you'll have to wear 2 caps at the same time. So to get people to trip into conversions, you might use things like free trials, demos. If you're a retail style business, it may be a case of offering free product plus shipping, which is quite a popular option at the moment. So the main thing is email marketing is used there to trigger content in front of people to move them from considering you as a solution to actually you being the answer to their solution. Once they've converted, once they've bought a product or become a subscriber or whatever the conversion is, conversion doesn't necessarily always mean sales. It may do for the context of this webinar because we're looking at maximising sales. But for any other strategy, conversion might be some other end goal. So we move on to retention. Now, retention and advocacy are 2 main stages of the funnel that can actually feed new contacts back into the top. So it could be into awareness, it could be to consideration, and it may be directly into conversion. Retention, retaining people, retaining customers and getting them back, upselling, cross-selling, even downselling if you need to do. Keep them within your business and buying products or services from you. Retained customers are actually 6 times cheaper to keep than they are to get as new customers at the top of the funnel. So it's a very, very good reason why you need to retain people and keep them going through the process. And then ultimately, if you're doing that job right, they'll become advocates of your business. They'll start doing the work for you. They'll share your marketing messaging. They'll do some referral marketing for you. They'll help you out, so it's taking a little bit of weight off your shoulders. And again, email marketing runs right through this. So once somebody's converted, then put them into a new customer nurture program or a welcome program. Automate things, make it a little bit easier for yourself, and it is something we cover a little bit later. But the retention stage when it comes to email marketing is all about keeping them up to date, keeping them refreshed, keep giving them value. Even if they've just bought a product, keep giving value and they will stay with you. Even if you don't turn them into advocates, they will stay with you, and it'll keep you getting new customers in at the top of the funnel. So to do that and to move people through these 5 stages, you really need to set a strategy in place. It's absolutely vital when it comes to email marketing of any description, whether that's tying it in with your e-commerce or not, that you build strategies, that you set endpoints, goals, objectives, you build the foundation. Again, it's something that's easily forgotten about in the day-to-day firefighting that we have to do. We come in, we've got customer service to take, we've got to contact maybe some complaints, we've got to contact new customers, we've got to do all the admin side as well. If we don't have a strategy in place, it will get lost and things just won't work properly. So to create a good strategy, there are a few components that you need. The first are your buyer personas and your buyer profiles. And this, again, even for the smallest of businesses, is absolutely vital to making sure that you're not just communicating right, but also that you're offering the right products and services to that customer base as well. You need to know your audience. To do that, you need buyer personas first of all. And buyer personas are just fictional representations of groups of your ideal customers. So if you're, say, a women's fashion retailer, more than likely one of your personas is going to be maybe the teen market, maybe to middle-age market, maybe 18 to 35s. It depends upon your specific audience. You'll know that from your existing customer base. You need to look into it. You need to maybe consider interviewing existing customers, maybe existing prospects that haven't bought from you. See why they're not buying from you. Maybe your product line isn't quite in line with what they need, although you've been able to sort of attract them to become prospects of your brand or your products and services. So you need to know inside out and back to front and upside down who are our target audience, what groups are they made into, and then what are their pain points, how do we solve their problems, what type of product are they looking to purchase. Again, if it's a fashion brand that you have, are those customers looking to buy shoes? Are they looking to buy trouser suits? Are they looking to buy maybe blouses or skirts? Are they looking to buy dinner dresses? Are they looking to buy tuxedos if it's male retailer? That sort of thing. You need to know the audience inside out and profile them. You need to know what available budget they have to spend. That type of thing as well is always useful. If you've got really strong audience, they love your brand, but you're just too expensive, you're hitting the wrong audience. The other extreme of things, if you've got really strong audience but they don't want to necessarily buy from you because your product's a little bit on the lower price side and they feel as if it's sort of maybe not a quality purchase, they're too cheap maybe, too good to be true, then you need to know that so you can amend what you're doing. So you need to know your customers first of all, buyer personas and profiles. Once you know who they are, you need to look at the different journeys that each of those different audiences takes. So you may end up with maybe between 3 and 5 buyer personas to start with. That's usually where companies tend to start. Ultimately, when you start digging down into your personas, you might end up with 20, 30, 40, who knows. But you need to know once you've got that audience together, the journeys that each of those takes. So when do they come into contact with you? What behaviours do they show before they make a purchase? What behaviours do they show and how do they act? How do they react with your email marketing when they're looking to repurchase something from you? So maybe not just new customers, look at your existing customers as well. Do they act slightly differently? If that's the case, treat them differently with different email marketing campaigns. To do that, you've got to be able to map the touch points where they're coming into contact with you. And this needs to be done for each and every buyer persona that you've got, because each and every buyer persona will act differently. If there are certain elements that look the same, that's all well and good, but unless you look into it, you won't know that for sure. And that all leads you back to the marketing funnel. So the touch points will come in at different points of that buying process. So awareness stage, it may be that they've just found out that they've got a certain problem or that your shop might exist. If you've got a Shopify store, they may have just come across it from things like Facebook ads, Twitter ads, maybe somebody referred them to it. If that's the case, you then need to, as soon as you can, get the email address and have a strategy and a content strategy to drive them through to the consideration mindset. Once you've got them moving into that set, you then need a new strategy for that buyer persona based on their individual touch points to get them to move to conversion. As you can see on the marketing funnel on screen, although they're not necessarily in line with the funnel itself, there are a lot of different types of touch points on there. So you've got on the left hand side ads, you've got promos, you've got email, you've got PR, maybe invoices. So maybe somebody who's already purchased, you include some marketing material in there, maybe a discount if they refer somebody, that type of thing. But that could then lead them back to the awareness stage. You've got your e-commerce touch points. So how do they come in contact with your e-commerce solution? You've got the web. So have you got a separate website, or are you purely just running an e-commerce solution? You've got your social media channels, forums, surveys. Then on the other side, on the right-hand side of the marketing funnel there, you've got word of mouth referrals. That all comes from the bottom two stages as a general rule, retention and advocacy. You've got your sales functions, whether that's a separate team of people, whether it's yourself. You've got a different cap on if that's the case. They want to be treated slightly differently. They will be treated slightly differently to get the conversion. It could be displays, check-in, check-out, maybe upsales, newsletters, loyalty programs, customer service. You get the idea. It's all these different touch points, even for the smallest of businesses, that those customers will come into contact with, or prospective customers will come into contact with. If you can apply a most relevant type of communication to them that really appeals to their problems, their requirement for that solution, no matter what your product is, then there's more likely a chance that they'll convert, because you're actually being more relevant to them, you're being more personal to them. This all leads to relevancy. Now, this is a graph that we use to kind of show how email marketing can work and how it can be improved quite quickly by implementing things like personalization, looking at your data sets, looking how people are behaving, looking at each of your buyer personas and the touch points that come into contact with you, and how they act at those touch points as well. Now, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the shotgun approach, or the common approach. It's a one-to-many email marketing approach where a company will create one email with one design, one piece of content in it, one ideal behind it, and they'll send it to everybody on the list. Now, they do get conversions, on average about just shy of 1%, say. So they do work, but they don't work as well as they could do if you start digging into the data set that you've got. And again, it might just be a case of looking at maybe gender, location, previous purchases, emails that people have opened, emails that people have clicked on. It could be that type of approach. Build up a bigger picture as you go through the process. So if you move from the shotgun approach on the left hand side and just move across one step, you can see the demographic approach. So this is where we start looking at people based on, if you're a retailer, maybe it is the gender. Maybe it is a location. If you've got a brick and mortar store that's supported by an e-commerce solution, maybe you look at geography or region or postcode or street level. Again, you're looking at the demographics. You're looking at the actual measurable active data that you've got from those contacts. So if you apply that to your email marketing and just start segmenting your sends, rather than sending everything to everybody, start sending with a little bit more purpose using that information. You can almost double your conversion rates on average anyway, and that's before you even start getting into the complicated side of things. If you then move across one more step to the character approach, so you start looking at preferences that people have, previous purchases that they've made, maybe they've completed a preference center in your email platform, and they've told you what they want to receive, when they want to receive it, how they want to receive it. Maybe they've not told you directly, but you're looking at what emails they've opened, what emails they've clicked, what type of subject line works for them. If you're using what's going on in their head, I suppose is the easiest way of putting it, you're then applying that character approach. And compared to the shotgun approach, now it's nearly 3 times that conversion rate, or it's, in our stats there, it's just over 3 times. Again, we're not really digging into a great amount of data here. This is just purely looking at what do people prefer and who are they, what's the demographics. So that's already increased conversions. Now we can take quite a big step. We can move to the behavioural side of things. So how are people behaving at each touch point? Are we using that to educate what happens next? Are we looking at real-time behavioural marketing information, such as people that are opening and maybe sending triggered emails off the back of that? Are you using things like abandoned cart emails, abandoned browser emails from your e-commerce solution? If not, it may be worth consideration, even though in some platforms it can cost a little bit more to get that option. If you start using those behaviours alongside the character and alongside the demographic approaches, the conversion rate is over fourfold now, almost 4.5 times. That is quite a big jump in conversion rate. Again, for a small amount of investment in time and effort, just looking at the data that you've got on each contact and separating them up into relevant segmented groups. And then the last step, if you can get them to interact with you as well, and you can get that communication so personal to them, so relevant to them, and as you can see on the bottom of the chart there, more towards that one-to-one relevancy and one-to-one relationship email marketing, the conversion rates pretty much go through the roof. Now, bearing in mind, these are average conversion rates across B2B and B2C. It may be a case of you looking at these stats and thinking, well, our conversion rates are already higher anyway. If that's the case, that's absolutely fine, but you will find that if you start introducing demographics, character approaches, behavioural, and getting people to interact and share and engage, then your conversion rates will go up anyway. So it's always a case of this is how you maximise what you've already got. If your conversion rates aren't this high, that doesn't matter. If you start using these approaches, using the data that you've got, collect more data as people show you behaviours, then if you do start using that in your email marketing strategies, your conversion rates will go up. And there's 4 rules really to relevancy, and these really do sort of define email marketing itself and how to maximize anything from email marketing, whether that's sales, whether it's conversions of some other description as well. You need to deliver the right content to the right person in the right format and at the right time. All 4 of those rules are based on data and what you will know about your existing customers, what you'll know about your prospects. The right content means that you're getting the right products or services in front of that contact or that part of your audience or segment, if you want to call it that, which is what it's usually referred to. So you segment down, get the most relevant content in front of that person at the right time. The right person is all down to your buyer personas and your customer touch points. So again, it's all tying up back to that strategy piece. So the content is based on audience, the right person is based on your buyer personas, your segments, your profiling. In the right format, this is all about behaviours. So again, if you know that certain types of email work better with certain parts of your audience, keep doing that. Split test as you go along to make sure that is still the case and you're getting the best results, but make sure that you're delivering in that format. If some customers don't like images in their emails, they don't react to them, try sending out purely to them with just text in the email and see if that gets you better results. If that's the case, stick with it. And then at the right time, and again, that's all I suppose back down to behaviours as well. People will tend to check their emails on certain schedules, maybe through the day, maybe they'll only check once a day, morning, evening, that type of thing. Again, it's knowing your audience. Look at the data. When do these people open their emails as a general rule? Look at your delivery reports that you'll be getting and then send at those times. A lot of email platforms that tend to work alongside e-commerce solutions will give you the option to actually optimize the sends as well. So rather than just sending out to, say, 1,000 people in a specific segment of your audience, again, you're not going to hit them all at the right time for them. So what you can usually do is use an optimized send, which is where the email platform itself will look at when those contacts have opened previously and when it's the best time to get them. And it'll send that email through to them specifically just before that time to try and get the top of their inbox. So again, it's worth consideration. If you've not already using it, look at optimized sending as well. If you follow all 4 rules there, so the right content to the right person in the right format at the right time, your e-commerce sales from email marketing will increase. There's no doubt about it. And this all comes down to this chart here, which is closed loop marketing model. A lot of marketers, in fact most marketers, especially when it comes to email marketing, will work on the right hand side of this chart. So the campaigns, the engagement and conversions. So what they'll do is they'll create their email marketing campaigns. They'll probably send them out to everybody. They'll look for certain engagements or interactions. They'll measure conversions because that's obviously one of the main KPIs or the main targets or the goals. And then what they'll do is they'll not do anything with any data that they've learned from that. They won't really measure, previous purchase histories. They won't look at maybe how often that customer purchases certain products or what type of email was sent and what worked best for specific contacts and not. What they'll then do is they'll create another email campaign, probably on a Friday morning because the boss has come up and shouted at them and said we need an email campaign going out today. And then they might measure engagement, they'll look for conversions, they'll send that back to the boss in a report, and then they'll rinse and repeat, so through those first 3 channels. They're not really learning anything from their existing customers or from the prospects. The closed loop marketing model actually gives you a lot more scope, and to be fair, once you've been through it once or twice, it kind of makes common sense. There's nothing wrong with creating a campaign, first of all. There's nothing wrong with looking for engagement. There's nothing wrong with measuring conversions. That's all part of the role. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be part of this model anyway. But what you should be doing then is looking at the engagement and conversions, feeding it into your data management piece. So maybe it's a CRM that you've got, maybe it's an ERP. It might even be an Excel spreadsheet that you're working from. It's not the most secure thing to do, and it will potentially include human error. But if you can actually start putting the information together in a central pot, what you can then do is start analysing that data. It's not necessarily on a contact by contact basis at this point, but what you can do is start looking and saying, right, particular parts of our audience, they're showing that they prefer this type of email, or they like this type of subject line, or they even may like this type of discount or this type of product. Basically, you'll take the data that you've got, you'll analyse it. So you're now on the left-hand loop. You'll then not just analyse it, you look for insights. You want to actually learn something from this analysis. So you'll say, right, customers in London actually prefer emails with 3 images, but they only actually want 1 call to action in there, and they don't want any other options. So you've got an insight. You'll then look and say, right, where are the opportunities here for us? How can we increase things? How can we maximise things? How can we optimise and improve going forward? You'll then use those insights to look for those new opportunities. But before you go on to creating the next email marketing campaigns, there's the big data set in the middle. There's no point in analysing it and looking for insights from it if you're not actually going to use that data to create and educate the next campaigns you create. So you might use things like your social media insights. You might say, right, well, certain number of our users that we send emails to are always on Facebook at 12 midday every single day. Now, you can look for an opportunity there. You can say, right, if they're sat on Facebook and they've got notifications set up on their emails, if we get an email out to them at that point in time, they're likely to be looking more than likely on the mobile device, but it could be on desktop. They're more than likely to be looking at the device at that point in time. If we get an email notification in front of them, there's a greater chance we're going to get it opened. The main thing with email marketing is you've got to get the email delivered, you've got to get it opened, and then you've got to get somebody to click through from it. There's sort of 3 stages there. If it doesn't get delivered, nobody's ever going to see your email. If they don't open it, they're never going to see the content and the messages in your email. And if they don't click through, you'll never get any extra sales, or you'll never be able to maximise your return on investment, because ultimately you need people to click from an email to do anything. If you think about any sales emails that you've ever had, you've always got to click on a call to action button, whether that's an image or a link or a price tag or something like that. You'll then be taken to a website or a landing page where you can input your banking details, make the order, check stock levels, that sort of thing. Emails are great for communicating with people, but they're not that good for converting in email itself. You've got to get people off, get them clicking off. So looking at opportunities, the Facebook example, the people are on every day at midday in our example. We use that to feed that into our data set. We say, right, which customers do we know actually use Facebook? Which interact with us on Facebook? Which ones do we know for sure use Facebook? We'll then use that insight, that opportunity, we'll use the data, and then we'll say, right, this next campaign only goes out to our Facebook users or followers, and it will go out at midday because we know for a fact that they're active more than likely at midday every day. And we're also going to make sure that it's got those 2 images that they want, and it's only got 1 call to action. Very, very basic, very, very quick example, but you can see now how if you keep repeating that loop and you create campaigns based on data that you know and insights that you've noticed, you'll then start optimizing and building up a bigger data set in the middle, which can then be used to optimize future campaigns. And then you run the loop again, and then you learn more. Your data set increases, you've got better insights, you look for better opportunities, you've got more educated decisions on the campaign side. So it moves from one side to the other in a nice natural flow. Every campaign that goes out is using data. We then feed the data back in to analyze and look for insights, and then we feed it back to educate next steps. To do that, you need goals and objectives. No point in setting off with email marketing campaigns to optimize anything if you've not got structured goals and objectives in place. We always recommend using the SMART mnemonic, so specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant and time bound. So that just gives you structure. So you'll turn around and say, this week, rather than saying we want more sales isn't specific enough, it's not measurable, it's not necessarily time bound either. You'll say by Friday of this week we are looking for a 1% increase in sales through our email marketing campaigns, and we will do that by doing X, Y and Z. So you've got specific steps in place, you've got measurables in place, you're looking for a specific increase, and you know when the deadline is, you know when that winning line's achieved. When you get to that point, stop what you're doing, analyze what you're doing, look for the insights, look for the new opportunities. Did you achieve target? Brilliant. If you didn't achieve target, where did it not quite work? What do you try next time? Every email campaign that goes out should be an experiment and should be testing something. So whether it's a subject line, whether it's call to actions, whether it's different brand colorings, whether it's the use of imagery, whether it's the time of send, whether it's the audience you send to, everything needs to be tested on an ongoing basis. It's only with testing that you can see what's working and what's not working. That then gives you the data and the extra insight to say, right, next time we do this, next time we try that. So SMART mnemonic is great for goals and objectives. When you create an effective strategy, you also need to look at what other channels you're using as well. So as I mentioned before with Facebook, are you using social media? Are you using just free versions, or are you paying to advertise on those as well? Are there any other insights that you can see from those other channels? The same could be said for your pay-per-click advertising, display network advertising, programmatic advertising if that's the case as well, and from your SEO. What can Google Analytics tell you, or your analytics suite for your web traffic? Can that give you extra insight that can be used for your email marketing purposes as well? Content marketing, so your blogs, YouTube videos, Instagram, that type of thing. If you've got any content going out there in slightly different formats, is that sending your traffic through? Does that activity give you extra insight? Influencer marketing is another point. If you are using influencers to market your products and services, which does happen quite a lot with the Shopify stores in particular, with Instagram influencer marketing, how's that affecting your email marketing as well? Does their messaging, does their approach affect the results that you're getting? Is it something that you can look for insights on? Are they doing something that you think would work absolutely brilliantly in your email marketing campaigns? If so, try it. There was the phrase that is, I believe, attributed to Steve Jobs: good artists copy, great artists steal. It doesn't mean you need to breach copyright on anything, but if you see somebody doing something that seems to be working, copy that approach. Steal that approach. Not the content, because obviously you've got copyright issues, but if you see them doing something in particular, give it a try, experiment with it, see what you can get out of it. If it's working for them, it may work for you. It might not, but if it doesn't, you've not lost out. You've just found another way not to approach your marketing. Referral marketing, the same. Can you look for extra insights from people that are referring to you as well? And then think about, where does email fit into all of this? Email marketing is the central hub to every other channel that you use. There are the pundits out there who've said that email marketing's dead, or email marketing's dying, and that instant messaging's going to take over. It's not the case. Email marketing's been around since 1971, when Ray Tomlinson sent the first email itself. The first email marketing message was actually sent in 1978 by Gary Turk. So it's had the better part of 40 years at this stage. The internet's been built up around the email address, not the other way around. So if you think about setting up social media adverts, or setting up social media accounts, you've got to input an email address. They won't let you create an account without an email address, because it is the one unique identifier that online users have. You could have maybe 1,000 people called Tom Jones in your CRM system. The only way you can separate those, usually in a CRM, is using that email address as the unique identifier. That's the most accurate way of doing it. The same could be said for any online shopping as well. So if you use Amazon, eBay, or even your own e-commerce solution, You usually have to collect that email address so that you can send delivery confirmations out, you can send invoices out, and also that you can communicate and market to people as well is another side of that. It's not just about transactional, but because of this, email marketing is the central hub to everything else that you're doing without fail. So as I mentioned, good artists copy, great artists steal, and that was attributed to allegedly Steve Jobs, although there are a few quotes in history that are very, very similar. Now, to get all this right and to get email as the central hub and make sure that you're using all of the data, you do have a few requirements. Now, these might be out of the remit of the smaller businesses who just don't have budget to be putting into this. But in an ideal world, this is what you'd have in place. So you need somewhere to actually collect the data. You need data storage, because again, if you're collecting it, there's no point if you can't store it to then use it. You need to be able to segment based on that as well. So again, another key point. It's all well and good collecting information and storing it, but if you're not using it in the form of segmentation and splitting your audience, or the larger parts of your audience, up into more manageable and more relevant groups, then there's no point in collecting it in the first place. You've then got the requirement for an email campaign builder. Now, it could be argued that you don't need this to maximize your e-commerce sales, and that would be right. However, when you're looking to maximize your e-commerce sales from email marketing, you need an email campaign builder. Outlook or Gmail won't cut it. You need something there that can let you produce quickly and easily professional looking email campaigns, and also schedule the sending as well. If you're going to go down the route of using marketing automation, looking at using triggered emails such as the abandoned cart or abandoned browser emails, you need a marketing automation builder as well. In most cases, the email service providers, platforms will include an element of marketing automation, even if it's not an all singing, all dancing one. But you do need that in place in an ideal world as well, so that you can actually take a little bit of weight off your shoulders, which is secret number 3. You also need reporting, because again, we need to go back to that closed loop marketing model. It's all well and good collecting the data and storing it, but you also need to be able to report on the effects and the results that you're getting from your email campaigns. And then you need to analyze as well, because without the analysis, you can't look for the insights, you can't look for the opportunities, which then feed back into the data that you've got stored to then educate your next campaigns. And if you've got separate systems, you might need integrations as well. So that's basically a piece of code that sits between different systems to allow them to talk to each other and pass data from one platform to the other. So it's all well and good talking about this, and it's all theory unless you can start looking at copying other people and stealing their ideas. So who's getting this right at the moment? And you will have come across these companies, no doubt. The first one's Amazon. Amazon collect massive amounts of data. They then use it in every single email campaign that comes out to you. We've got 2 examples here. We've got a recommended product on the left hand side, and we've also got a track your package delivery information on the right hand side there. The emails themselves, based on your recent activity, we thought you might be interested in this, the one on the left, recommended product. We've got really good reasons why I should be clicking on that, to be fair, if I was in the market for buying a cot. There's reduction on there in price. We've got Prime membership there. That if I'm a member of Prime, then obviously it'll be dispatched free of charge for me. All I need to do is click on the link or click on Learn More. It'll take me through to that product page. I can make the purchase, and in a couple of clicks, I'm done and dusted. I bought the product. So based on recent activity, they've looked at previous behaviours of this user and said, right, this product might be good. We're going to send it out as a recommendation and see if we can make it easy for you. They're not missing an opportunity on that email as well. They've got a couple of sales approaches on there. They've got the Prime Video, the tick at the top in the right there, so to get this user to go and use Prime Video. And then now shipping the Fire TV stick with the Alexa voice remote as well at the bottom, just in case we were interested in that and not the cot that they've recommended. On the right hand side, we've got the delivering your package today email. It purely is that. It's a transactional style of email. We can see the delivery information of the product. We can track the package. It's a little bit less sort of graphically appealing. It is a transactional email, though. It's not there to get any sales. So you can see the difference between the 2 formats there. Both are using information that they've gained, though. We've then got eBay. So another great example of collecting lots of data and then using it to educate their email marketing going forwards. So they're not quite as good as Amazon, to be fair. The recommended product emails tend to be quite a few scrolls long to eBay, whereas Amazon, much more refined. Usually you'll probably find 1 or maybe 3 at the top side recommended products on their emails. It's very seldom do they try and go over the top. Amazon are much more refined with their data approach, whereas eBay can sometimes feel a little bit slapdash. But the introductory email: hi, Tony Melling, welcome to eBay Start Shopping. Really clean, really straightforward. I know why I've got it because I've just signed up for eBay in this example. Download the apps, excellent. I can go to the App Store, Google Play, whichever Android or iOS that I'm using. Start shopping, and then I'm off and away. Really straightforward, sort of welcome email there, using a little bit of personalisation as well. We've then got the middle example, happy 1 year anniversary. So again, they're using this like a birthday campaign. Again, hello Tony. They've got the personalisation in there to a degree, although it's potentially an old username rather than my full name. And happy 1 year anniversary. There's a nice picture of the 1 year old cake there with the one candle, a little bit of text, and they basically want me to go through to eBay to start using them again. So again, nice and clean cut example. They're using data. They know it's my 1 year anniversary. Everybody that day that's got a 1 year anniversary will have got the same email. So it's not that personal, but it does make you feel that bit more special and noticed as a customer, I suppose, to a degree. So it may trigger some extra conversions. And then the last example is for the eBay sellers. Again, really clean cut, slightly different format you may see. This is the type of branding they use for the eBay selling rather than the actual eBay shopping side, which is why we've included this in this example. But you can see maximum £1 selling fees, 4 days only make up 100 listings, paying £1 in final value fees for each. And then it's really straightforward, accept the offer, sign in. So again, they're using data. They know that this particular customer is a seller rather than a buyer, or it may be both, but at least they're targeting that specific segment. And then another Amazon-owned company. Again, Amazon are so strong with their data usage that anything that's related to them is likely to also be strong. Netflix is another great example. It may be seen that these emails are just kind of chancing their arm at getting somebody to click through. The one on the left-hand side, Marvel the Defenders, all episodes, 18th of August. It's actually based on previous watch history and previous recommended documentaries and series that Netflix had sent out and had been clicked on. So looking at click history and tying that in with view history. Because it's all well and good looking at people who are clicking on the trailer in this email example, but if they're not actually going on to then watch the series on the product itself, it may just be spiked interest, but they definitely don't want to watch that product. So they do actually use that data hand in hand. They look at email click and web behaviours alongside each other. So very, very powerful use of data there. And that's something that e-commerce businesses can do as well. You can tie in your web traffic data with your email marketing data, and then you become much, much more refined with your approaches and your segmentation and your things like recommended products and that side of it too. And then we've got a similar example in a slightly different format on the right there. We've got the story of Diana, Narcos and Rick and Morty, and then a few recently added at the bottom as well. Very similar style of email. They're looking at trying to get that user to click through and give them some idea of what their preferences are. You can see that we've got a documentary at the top, we've then got a Netflix original series in the middle, and then we've got an animated series underneath. So they're looking to try and find out a little bit more about the user based on click behaviours, and then tying that click behaviour on email to the online behaviour on the website as well. And this all goes back to the smarter use of data. You've got to get the middle of that loop built up, and you've got to start using it. So it's all well and good creating your email campaigns, it's all well and good looking for insights, but if you're not collecting data every time and then using that data and making use of it, then it's all going to be for no reason. So to collect data, as I mentioned, you can look at using the email click behaviours and open behaviours. You can also use your web traffic behaviours. But when it comes to collecting data, rather than just looking at that, you can actually use landing pages to house surveys and forms and start asking people for preferences. What do you want? How do you want it? When do you want it? What would be the next product for us to offer you? If you're a retail store, what season is it? What do you buy in this season? What style of clothes do you like? What style of boots? What style of shoes? What style of trousers? What colour denim do you like? Do you like knitwear? Do you not like knitwear? That type of thing. Get them to use their own voice. Get them to give you the information. If you can get the information from your customers, literally from their mouths, and you can get them to complete these forms, and then you use that data in your email marketing, it makes it so much more powerful because they feel as if you're listening to them and the voices are being heard. They're telling you what they want. You've just got to listen and pick up that data. So as I mentioned, you can use surveys and forms, whether they're standalone forms, whether they're on Facebook tabs, or whether they're on landing pages or your website themselves. Even consider maybe using them as pop-up modals on your product pages. Basically, ask for more information, get more information from them, because it'll only help you do better work for them. The better they feel as if you're listening to them and using the information they're telling you, the more likely they're going to convert from you anyway. And where else can you get data from? So social media channels, Google Analytics, are you using any other web analytics tools? If that is the case, get all the data in one place. Look for the insights and use all the data you've got, not just email behaviours and then looking at social media differently and then looking at your web traffic differently. Tie it all up into one central area that you can then use to educate every single thing that you're doing elsewhere. So you might see something on email and you think subject line worked absolutely brilliantly on that email we had, 100% open rate, absolutely brilliant. We sent to 1 million people. If that is the case, maybe consider using that subject line as a title for a blog post or for a social media post or for a social media ad. Use the insights that you've got across all the channels that you're using. When you're using data though, we have to consider GDPR. Now, as of May 2018, the General Data Protection Regulations actually come into force in the UK. They are in place at this point in time, but the end date or the deadline for compliance is May 2018. There's a few considerations here. As I say, the deadline's 25th of May. You need to consider how you're getting consent to market to your contacts. If they're coming to, say, a Shopify store, they're making purchases, they're giving you an email address, that's fine, but you need to consider, are they giving you consent to use that email address for marketing as well as for the transactional emails resulting from the purchase? If not, you need to get that consent going forward. If not, you won't be able to market to them. It is going to be policed by the Information Commissioner's Office or the ICO, and there are some absolutely massive fines in place. Basically, it's harmonisation of data protection laws across the EU. So anybody who's dealing with EU citizens' data has to comply with the GDPR. It applies to all companies handling data for EU citizens. So even if you're not based in the EU, if you're dealing with EU citizens' data, you've got to comply. Brexit won't affect the implementation of it. And you do need to consider, do you need to get consent? Or can you use maybe some other grounds for processing? It's quite an in-depth subject for me to go into as part of a webinar. We do have a separate webinar set up on our YouTube channel if you want to learn a little bit more about GDPR and ensuring compliance. So it may be a case of going across and looking at that as well. There are other grounds you can use rather than just getting people's consent, but you need to be very careful about that and know exactly what you're doing. So at least get some advice on GDPR if you're not 100% sure. And you need to look at your existing data as well when it comes to this data protection regulation. Anything that you're using for marketing now, if you've not got consent, people haven't given you consent to use their data, you probably won't be able to use it from May 2018. So again, based on the different grounds for processing, obviously, but it's worth looking at that other webinar just to be on the safe side. So secret number 2, increasing conversions. It's, again, all well and good. This is all going back to maximising your sales from your e-commerce, and we've got to increase conversions. So again, we're increasing relevance. We can, collect new data. We can collect all this information. We can use it to our advantage, but we need to increase conversions ultimately. And to do that, we'd use personalisation. Now, personalisation isn't just a fact of including someone's name in a subject line or someone's name in the email, as we saw maybe in the eBay example. It's a case of personalising content and approach and strategy as well. Going back to the strategy piece and the goals and objectives, the buyer personas will set out which parts of your audience you're going to target with specific content. That content then needs to be personalised for each and every contact that it's going out to. So as you can see on screen, it's a very basic example, but the lady in the blue on the right hand side previously bought a necklace or maybe interested in jewellery. So we're sending information out that's relevant to her previous purchases or maybe browsing or recommended products, that style of approach. We've got the contact in the middle with the handbag, or looks like a handbag, and then we've got the contact on the right hand side there with the watch. So we're sending relevant content out to those specific contacts. Now to do this in an email form, you could create different segments that are purely interested in necklaces, handbags or watches. Or what you could do is include what we call dynamic content blocks, which is a little block that goes into your email campaign, and it's like a placeholder. You set certain rules as to what type of content goes into that box, and then when the emails are sent, it delivers content and completes that content purely for that contact based on their rules. So again, we will be creating a video shortly on dynamic content, how to include that in your email campaigns, and also the benefits of using it. But the main purpose really is to make sure that that person, that contact, is getting the most relevant piece of content in front of their eyes at that point in time. So going back to the right person, the right content, right time, right format. This is why it's important. We go back to that chart again. The more you personalize, the more you move from the left hand side to the right hand side of that chart, and you increase your conversions as a result of that because you're being more relevant. If a person feels as if you wrote that email just for them, there's much greater chance of them converting than there is if you just send them a random email out that looks as if it's been delivered to 10,000 other people. Personalization doesn't mean just a name though, as I mentioned. It does mean content as well, and approach and style. You can get that right by using segmentation. Obviously, the benefits of segmentation are the increased relevancy of your work. The more data that you're using, the more refined that you get your audiences down to. And segmentation, in other words, is just purely slicing and dicing your data into groups of people with relevant and similar character traits or behaviours. So it might be they bought a previous product that was the same, so we'll send them an upsell that's relevant to that product. So it may be a case of these customers will never buy a certain type of product, so what we'll do is we'll try and offer them different other products rather than including them in the whole list that goes out. So segmentation increases relevancy, relevancy increases conversions, that maximizes the sales you get from your e-commerce and your email marketing. So how do you get started? Well, data collection is absolutely crucial. We've already covered that in the software requirements. If you're not collecting the data, you can't use it to create the segments and the personalization and the relevancy in your dynamic content. You've got to get the data in and you've got to use that data. As you can see there, you can only segment if you have enough of the right types of data. So again, it's no good just collecting everything just for the sake of it. Only collect what you need and make sure you use it. There are 4 types of data that you can collect and use. The first are your demographics, so things like age, gender. You've got psychographics, so preferences, opinions, what's going on in that contact's head, that's your psychographics. You then got geographics, so the city, postcode, street, country, even planet if that's the case. And then you've got behavioural, so what do they open, what have they clicked, what are the purchases, what have they not purchased, what have we offered and they didn't like. So looking at behaviours. You don't have to use these separately, you can use a mix of these. So you could say, right, we're going to target 18 to 21-year-old females who prefer sporting equipment, who live within the Leeds postcodes, and they've opened the last 3 emails that we've sent and clicked on 2. So again, that would be a very, very specific segment. Segmentation, as long as you've got the data, is literally unlimited. It's as good as your imagination. What you need to do is get the audience down to refined levels. So then when you get that right piece of content in front of them, you know that it's as relevant as it could possibly be for each and every single contact in that audience. A real-time behavioural marketing. This stems on a little bit more, but it moves on and sort of develops the behavioural side of things. So it's okay looking at what people have opened and what people have clicked when it comes to email marketing. But if you could do that in real time and say, right, that contact has just opened this email, they've been to the website, we've seen that from our web tracking, but now they've come off that website again. What you might do is trigger another email out to say, we noticed that you looked at our website, we're really sorry that you didn't see what you liked, or something like that. Can we offer you a discount? Can we offer you another product? So it's looking at what's happening in real time. Get those behaviours used, start triggering emails, using the behaviours to get additional content in front of them at the right time. And then secret 3, how do you save time and effort? As I mentioned right at the start of the webinar, we've only got so many hours in the day, especially marketing functions, and especially if you're a smaller business and you're having to do a lot of the different functions yourself. It's all well and good saying that email marketing will increase conversions. Yes, it will, but only if you've got the time and effort and the inclination to actually do that work and put the effort in. If you've not got time to do it, you need to look at ways of saving time or making it easier. And to do that, you use integrations. So that's where different platforms, different parts of your marketing functions all work together in one way. So it's little bits of code that sit between the platforms so they speak to each other, and then they pass data all hopefully into one central database or CRM or ERP system that you've got, so then you can use that closed loop marketing model. So integrations are one. It automates the data collection process and puts it all into one place for you to use. You can then look at automation. So automation is the process really of automating repetitive tasks that you have within your email marketing functions. So you'll find that once somebody becomes a customer, you'll probably send the same types of email out to them to nurture them to the next purchase. It may be certain product lines, it may be certain touch points, certain timings that you go through. You might want to offer them different types of products at different purchase points of the touch point journey as well. If you can automate your email marketing, it does take a little bit of time to set it up because you need to create logical flows. You have to say, right, well, if this is a new customer, we'll take them through a process of maybe 10 emails spaced out over the next month that nurtures them to maybe make a repeat purchase or to buy an additional product that supports their additional purchase. If that's the case, what do we need to send? What does it need to look like? When does it need to be sent? Do we need to look for a behaviour to have happened before we send the next one? That type of thing. So marketing automation can save you loads of time, loads of effort, and it'll make all the repetitive things that you're doing an automatic process that you don't even have to think about. It's kind of set and forget in most cases. But it does take time, and you do need the software to be able to do that efficiently. So again, you may have to look, if you're going to use this approach, at looking at maybe a new email service provider or at least a marketing automation platform to support you. As I mentioned, marketing automation is the use of software to automate repetitive tasks related to marketing activities and to connect different parts of the marketing funnel without physical interaction. There's lots of different types of automation program you can use when it comes to marketing automation. Here are just a few examples, and if you think about all these emails that you'd need to send each and every day with your customers manually if you didn't use the automation side of things. So you've got subscriber welcomes, so maybe they subscribe to a newsletter. You've got new customer welcomes, so thank you Mr. or Mrs. X, Y and Z. We'd like to say thank you for making your purchase. Go down the customer service route, maybe go down a new nurture program. You've got flows for your evangelists, so maybe you've got advocates, really strong advocates in that bottom of the marketing funnel in that last stage. The retained customers, they love the work that you're doing, they love your products and services, they want to tell everybody about it. Treat them differently with a different type of marketing automation program. Get them the content in front of them that helps you to do your work. You know they're evangelists, you know they're going to share it. All you need to do is just give them that content and they'll do the work for you. So maybe you treat them differently in an automation program. Maybe lead nurtures. So you might have prospects who are not quite ready to purchase. You'll identify them differently through your buyer personas and through your segmentation. You'll then lead them through lead nurture programs automatically. That'll take them through to purchase or as near as purchase as you can get them. Maybe you'll automate internal tasks. So do you have to send emails out regularly between yourself and other team members or other parts of the business? Or would it just be easier if you saw from your e-commerce solution that a sale had just come in and then you could automate other tasks for yourself from the back of that? So maybe consider that as an option as well. You've got maybe re-engagement campaigns and programs. So naturally over the length of time somebody's a contact of yours, interest tends to dwindle off over time. You'll find that you'll lose people out of your contact list naturally. It's part of the attrition. Average list attrition somewhere between 25 and 30% year on year. So if you can identify when people tend to drop off your list, you might consider using a re-engagement campaign to try and get them to come back into the list to re-engage with you. Or it might just be a case of sending an automation out saying, right, you've not opened the last X amount of emails that we've sent. We're going to take you off our contact list because we don't want to pest you, and we don't want to fill your inbox with stuff you're not interested in. If you do want to stay within our list and receive our communications, click this button to opt back in. So it might be another way of getting people back into your list as well. You might look at win-back campaigns. So if you've got products, say, like insurance, it's on an annual purchase cycle, or there or thereabouts. If you know that somebody's really ready to buy and you've still got the contacts in place and you've still got consent to market to them, there's nothing wrong with using an automation program to try and get them back, even though you didn't get them the first time round maybe. You can then look at events or webinar flows or your behavioural flows, so abandoned carts, upsell, cross-sell, downsell opportunities, or even customer service programs too. Might be a case of every month or every couple of months even, you send an e-commerce survey out and say, we're really grateful you've been a customer of ours and you're an ongoing customer of ours. Can you tell us a bit more about the service that you're receiving from us, the products and services that you're getting? Tell us a little bit more, and then use that as another way of keeping in front of mind with those customers. And it also lets them use the voice again. They'll tell you if they're not want to receive your emails, that type of thing. And then purchase reminders is another one. There are many, many more automation programs you could put into place. If you sit there and think about your own business model and what you've got going on, you'll probably see that there are a few gaps there. It's not a case of these running independently. What you might do is start tying them up and move contacts from one to the other. In theory, a good automation program, you could actually lead somebody from prospect or lead stage right through to converted customer and then beyond into being an advocate. It would take an awful amount of time to create all those programs, but it is potentially possible that you could actually automate the full life cycle of a purchase through to retained customer. So you might look at maybe a new customer welcome. Once they reach the end of that program, you might look at maybe turn them into evangelists, so using the evangelist flow. You might move them to an upsell, cross-sell or downsell. You might include a customer service there or a purchase reminder. You might then need to nurture them to become a new customer on a new product set. In that case, a lead nurture will come into place. So you can move people through the different flows as well and run them simultaneously, so you could have one person in multiple flows as well. If that was to be the case, you need to be careful on the frequency of messaging in that case. You're not inundating them, but again, it's worth thinking about what can you automate, where can you save a little bit of time. To create smarter automation, it purely is looking at flows. You need to work out the logic and the touch points that these customers are coming through your processes at. Where do they come into contact? Where might be a good time to get an email marketing message in front of them in the right content? The right content, right person, right format. And to do that, you use your customer journeys. So we've gone full loop. We're back to our customer journeys and the touchpoint mapping. Where do each of these parts of your audience come into contact with you? What do they need to get out of you before they make a purchase? How many times do they need messaging from you or to come into contact with your brand before they make that purchase? You only know that by looking at your buyer personas, by profiling your buyer personas, and then using those customer touchpoint maps. Once you've got that right, alongside your goals and objectives that you've set using the SMART mnemonic, you build a strategy that is hopefully automated because it saves you time and effort. Once you've got all that right, your email marketing will absolutely skyrocket. So in conclusion, smarter email marketing strategy, you need to create goals and objectives. You need to identify your buyer personas and your customer journeys. And how can you close the loop? Consider that at all stages, that figure of 8 shape. How do you close the loop? And how does email fit into all of that? When it comes to automation, you can get that a little bit smarter. What processes can you automate? What programs might you need? Do you have the software in place to be able to do it? What parts of the customer journey can be automated? And how do you include contact behavior into your marketing decision making? That's likely to be maybe integrations, maybe looking at your data and creating segments based on those behaviors. And do you have the software required to automate your marketing? It's a big question. You can save a lot of time and effort with automation, but you need to put in a little bit of investment to get up to that stage in the first place. And then the smarter use of data. So are you collecting the required data? Are your data collection processes effective? So again, it's all good collecting data, but you've got to make sure it's accurate. You've got to verify it. So if you're collecting email addresses, maybe use the double opt-in approach, which under GDPR you'll need to do from May anyway. But make sure you're checking those email addresses are right, because even if that's the only piece of information you've got, you can build up the picture of that contact just from that using the closed loop marketing model. Are you personalising your emails, including things like dynamic content? So rather than just including the name, is the content personalised as well? Does your current platform allow you to use that approach? If not, maybe it's consideration, especially for e-commerce, because it's very, very powerful being able to offer things like recommended products, maybe products related to that customer or contact's previous purchases. And are you segmenting your contact list to increase relevancy? The more relevant the communication, the more relevant the email messaging, the more likely you're going to get that conversion. So by implementing all of this best practice and approaches, you will improve your context experience with your email marketing. You will improve engagement and interaction with your emails just as a result of that. And then you'll save time and the costs of wasted email sends as well, because you're sending to people that want to receive the messages and that are more likely to want to convert. And you'll improve your return on investment from email, thus maximising your e-commerce sales. So how can Wired Plus help? Well, we're an email marketing automation platform. We offer comprehensive features, which includes such things as landing pages, surveys and forms for the data collection piece. We offer flexible pricing plans, and we have the managed services if you did want to go down that route. So that's basically where we would look after your campaigns for you. We offer training and consultancy as well. So even if it's not just a case of you need a platform right now, we do offer training and consultancy as well as we do for our existing clients. And we also offer email campaign design too. So thank you very much for staying with me right until the end of the webinar. As a thank you for getting this far, we'd like to offer you a free trial and a demo if you wish to do so. You can sign up for the free trial at wiredplus.com/sign up, or you can send me a message to get started as well. Our email address is hello@wiredplus.com. Feel free to send an email across there if you're interested in either the free trial or the demo. Come through to our website as well, see what we can do, see what our existing clients are saying about us too. And if you do need to contact us, obviously feel free to do so through that route. So thank you very much for joining me today. We're always open to any questions you might have about email marketing or marketing automation, or even if you just want to have a chat about your current campaigns as well. So please contact us if you do have any questions. I'd like to say thank you very much for joining me today. We'll hope to see you at one of our future webinars. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now.